Eternity. Episode 11. The Immortal Question. Saturday morning arrived with the kind of perfect stillness that made Jade think the universe was holding its breath. She woke up wrapped in Victor's arms, their bodies tangled together in a way that had become so natural she couldn't remember what sleeping alone felt like. The sunlight streamed through her window, casting golden patterns across the bed, across Victor's pale skin that no longer feared its touch. 2 weeks. It had only been 2 weeks since he'd appeared in her bedroom, this impossible creature from another world. 2 weeks since her life had transformed from ordinary to extraordinary. 2 weeks of discovery and passion, and a love so intense it sometimes made her chest ache. And yet it felt like forever, like she'd known him her entire life, like every moment before his arrival had just been waiting, preparing her for this. Victor was already awake, she could tell. His breathing pattern was different when he was truly resting versus when he was simply lying still, holding her. She kept her eyes closed anyway, enjoying the feeling of being held, the cool solidity of him against her warmth. "I know you're awake," he said, his voice rough with something that wasn't quite sleep, but was close enough. "I can feel it through our bond. Maybe I'm sleep thinking. Maybe my brain is just very active during REM cycles. You are definitely awake, and you are thinking very loudly about breakfast." Jade smiled against his chest. "I'm always thinking about breakfast. It's my default state. I have noticed. Your dedication to morning meals is admirable." She finally opened her eyes and tilted her head back to look at him. Victor was watching her with that intense focus that still made her breath catch, even after everything they'd shared. His ice blue eyes were soft in the morning light, his expression unguarded in a way it rarely was. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. "You. Always you." "That's vague and romantic. Can you be more specific?" Victor's hand came up to her face, his cool fingers tracing the curve of her cheek with reverent gentleness. "I am thinking about how much you have changed me in such a short time, how you have taken 800 years of certainty and demolished it entirely. How you have made me want things I thought impossible and fear things I never considered worthy of fear." "That's still pretty vague. What things are you wanting and fearing?" He was quiet for a long moment, and Jade felt something shift through their bond, an emotion so complex she couldn't quite pass it. Desire, yes. Love, definitely. But also something heavier, something that felt like decision and inevitability combined. "Forever," Victor said finally. "I want forever with you, and I fear what that forever might cost." Jade's heart started pounding. They'd talked about this before, about the possibility of her being turned, about immortality and what it would mean, but those had been theoretical conversations, abstract discussions about a distant future. This felt different. This felt immediate. "Victor," she said carefully, "what are you saying?" He sat up, pulling her with him, positioning them so they were facing each other in the tangled sheets. The morning sun cast a halo around his dark hair, making him look like some Renaissance painting of a fallen angel, beautiful and dangerous, and hers. "I have been thinking about our previous conversations, about your request to be turned, about my fears and objections, about what it would mean to bind you to me for eternity." "Okay." "And I have come to a realization that terrifies me more than 800 years of warfare ever did." Jade felt her mouth go dry, which is that I am going to lose you, if not today, then tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then in 50 years. In the grand scope of my existence, 50 years is nothing. A blink, a heartbeat, and then you will be gone, and I will have centuries, perhaps millennia, to remember what I had and lost. "Victor, let me finish, please." She nodded, her throat tight with emotion. Victor took both her hands in his, holding them like they were precious and fragile. "I have loved before, my wife, my daughter, and I lost them both. The pain of that loss shaped 8 centuries of my existence. It made me cold, rigid, unable to open myself to connection, because I knew, always, that connection meant eventual loss." "I know, you've told me. But what I did not tell you, what I did not fully understand until now, is that the loss was worth it. The pain I experienced when they died, as terrible as it was, did not erase the joy of having loved them. The years with my wife, watching my daughter grow, those memories sustained me through centuries of darkness. They were worth the pain that came after." Jade felt tears starting to form. "Where are you going with this?" "I am going to a place I swore I would never go again. I'm choosing to accept the inevitable pain of losing you, because the alternative, pushing you away to protect myself, is worse. I would rather have you for whatever time we are given and suffer your loss than spend eternity wondering what we could have been." Quote, "That's beautiful and sad, and I'm gonna cry, but that's not what I want. I don't want you to just accept losing me. I want to stay. I want forever, real forever." Victor's expression shifted to something almost pained. "I know. And that brings me to the second realization I've had. Which is that my objections to turning you were never really about protecting you. They were about protecting myself." Jade blinked, surprised. "What do you mean?" "I told you that becoming a vampire would steal your humanity. That you would lose your warmth, your heartbeat, your ability to have children, to grow old with friends and family. All of that is true, but it was also, I realize now, an excuse, a way to avoid the real fear." "What's the real fear?" Victor looked away, his jaw tight. When he spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "That you would come to hate me. That you would wake up one day, immortal and changed, and realize that I had stolen your life from you. That I turned you into a monster, and you would spend eternity resenting me for it. That is what I truly fear. Not your death, your hatred." Jade felt like her heart might break. This ancient, powerful creature reduced his fundamental fear, that love could turn to hatred, that his actions, however well-intentioned, could destroy the very thing he was trying to preserve. She reached out and turned his face back toward her, making him meet her eyes. "Victor, listen to me very carefully. I love you. Present tense, current reality, and I will love you tomorrow, and the day after that, and 50 years from now, if we make it that far. But I will love you even more if you give me the chance to love you for 500 years, for 5,000 years, for however long this universe allows us to exist together. You cannot know that. You cannot know how immortality will change you." "You're right. I can't, but I know myself. I know that I don't make decisions lightly. I know that when I commit to something, I commit completely, and I'm committing to you, to us, to whatever that means." Victor's hands tightened on hers. "There is something else, something I have not told you, something that makes this decision even more complicated." "Of course there is. Why would anything about us be simple?" A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Your blood." the way it affects me. The daylight immunity, the ability to taste food, the strength of our bond. I have been researching, studying what little information I can find about blood bonds and vampire mythology in this world. And I believe, though I cannot be certain, that if I turn you, you will not become an ordinary vampire. Jade's heart skipped a beat. What do you mean? Your blood is unique, powerful. It has given me abilities no vampire in my world possessed. Daylight walking, enhanced senses, a bond so strong I can feel your emotions across distances. If that blood, that power, is transformed by the turning process, I believe you would become something unprecedented. Something like what? Victor hesitated, then said, in my research of your vampire mythology, I encountered stories of vampires who retained human abilities while gaining supernatural ones, who could walk in daylight without any assistance, who possessed unique gifts beyond normal vampire capabilities, mental powers, physical abilities beyond even our enhanced strength. They were called various things in different mythologies, but the concept was consistent. Vampires who were more than vampires. You're talking about Twilight, aren't you? The Cullens. They all had special abilities. Among other sources, yes. The Twilight mythology, ridiculous as much of it is, contains a kernel of truth. Some vampires, very rarely, retain aspects of their humanity while gaining all the benefits of vampirism, and I believe, based on what your blood has already done to me, that you would be one of those rare cases. Jade felt her mind racing, so I'd be like a super vampire. I'd keep my heartbeat and warmth and everything human, but also be immortal and strong and have special powers. Potentially. I cannot guarantee it, but yes, that is what I suspect would happen. Your blood is too powerful, too unique to simply be transformed into ordinary vampire blood. It would become something new, something extraordinary. And that scares you? Terrifies me, because I do not know what you would become, what powers you might manifest, whether you could control them, whether they would consume you, or whether you would master them. I would be creating something the world has never seen, something potentially more powerful than any vampire because in existence, and I would be responsible for whatever consequences that brought. Jade sat back, trying to process this. She'd wanted immortality, wanted to stay with Victor forever, but she'd been thinking about it in simple terms. Become a vampire, gain strength and speed and immortality, stay with a man she loved. She hadn't considered that she might become something else entirely, something unprecedented and potentially dangerous. Would I still be me? She asked quietly. I believe so. The vampires in those mythologies retained their personalities, their core selves. They simply gained additional abilities on top of what they already were. So I'd be Jade, but with superpowers. Essentially, yes. And you think this would definitely happen? This super vampire thing? Victor shook his head. I cannot be certain. Jade, your blood has already done the impossible. It has given me abilities no vampire in my world's history has possessed. The logical conclusion is that transforming that blood, making it immortal, would create something equally impossible. But good impossible, or bad impossible. I do not know. That is what terrifies me. I would be creating something beyond my ability to predict or control. And if it went wrong, if you became something dangerous or unstable, I would have no way to undo it. Jade was quiet for a long moment, thinking. This was bigger than she realized. This wasn't just about choosing immortality. This was about potentially becoming something that had never existed before. A vampire who was more than a vampire. Someone with powers beyond normal supernatural abilities. Did she scare her? It probably should have made her reconsider the whole thing. Instead, she felt excitement building in her chest. Victor, she said slowly, I need you to understand something about me. I have spent 20 years being ordinary, average height, average looks, average intelligence. I'm not special, I'm not exceptional. I'm just Jade from Maryland who waits tables at Applebee's and barely passed her math classes. The only remarkable thing about me is that I have really good taste in fictional vampire boyfriends. You're far more than ordinary. Let me finish. The point is, you're offering me the chance to be extraordinary, really, genuinely extraordinary, to have powers and abilities beyond anything humans normally experience, to be special in a way I never could be otherwise. And yeah, that's scary, but it's also the most exciting thing anyone has ever offered me. Victor looked at her with something between awe and horror. You want this. Even knowing the risks. Even knowing you might become something unpredictable. I want you. Everything else is just details. Those details could determine the fate of the world. Dramatic much? I'm probably just gonna get like super strength and maybe telepathy or something. I'm not gonna become a world-ending threat. You do not know that. You don't know that I will. Victor, you're catastrophizing. Imagining worst case scenarios because you're scared. But you've been scared of losing me this entire time, and look where we are. Still together, still happy, still making it work. Maybe instead of being scared of what I might become, you could be excited about it. We'd be partners in a whole new way. I could protect you for once instead of always being the protected one. Victor's expression shifted at that, something vulnerable crossing his face. You wish to protect me? Of course I do. You spent 800 years being the protector, the warrior, the one who keeps everyone else safe. Don't you want to share that burden? To have someone who can stand beside you as an equal, instead of someone you constantly have to worry about? I had not considered it from that perspective. Because you're used to being alone, used to being the strongest thing in the room. But Victor, if I become what you think I might become, you won't be alone anymore. Not really. You'll have a partner, someone who can match you, who can face whatever comes alongside you, instead of behind you. He was quiet for a long moment, clearly processing this. Jade could feel complex emotions flowing through their bond. Fear, yes, but also hope, longing, the desperate desire to believe this could work. There is one more thing, Victor said finally, something you should know before you make this decision. Of course there is. Hit me with it. The turning process. It is not gentle, it is painful and violent, and there is always a risk that the person being turned will not survive the transformation. Most do, but not all. And given that your blood is unique, I cannot predict how your body would respond. The pain could be worse, the risk could be higher. I might lose you in the attempt to keep you. What are the actual odds, percentage-wise? In my experience, perhaps 1 in 20 do not survive the turn-in, but again, your blood changes all calculations. So 95% survival rate, normally, those are pretty good odds. Jade, this is not a statistics problem. This is your life. This is my choice, and I'm choosing to take the risk. I'm choosing you, I'm choosing us. Whatever that means, whatever I become, I'm choosing it. Victor looked at her with such raw emotion that Jade felt tears spring to her eyes. Love and fear and desperate hope all tangled together, flowing through that bond so strongly she couldn't tell where his feelings ended and hers began. Are you certain? He asked, his voice breaking slightly. Truly, completely certain. Because once I begin, there is no reversing it. You will either become vampire or you will die. There is no middle ground. I'm certain. And you understand that you may not simply become vampire. You may become something unprecedented, something that carries responsibilities and risks neither of us could fully anticipate. I understand. And you accept those risks? Accept the possibility of pain and danger and a future we cannot predict? I accept all of it. Victor, I love you. I want forever with you. Whatever that forever looks like, however complicated it becomes. I want it. I want you. Stop trying to talk me out of it and just say yes. Victor's hands came up to frame her face, his touch gentle despite the intensity in his eyes. If I do this, if I turn you, there will be no going back. You will be bound to me for eternity. Our bond will become unbreakable in ways even I cannot fully explain. You will be mine, and I will be yours in the most fundamental way possible. Good. I like being yours, and I really like you being mine. Now, are you going to keep listing obstacles, or are you going to give me what I want? Something in Victor's expression shifted, the fear receding, replaced by determination. Decision made. He pulled her close, his cool body pressing against her warmth, his lips finding hers in a kiss that was both tender and desperate. I love you, he said against her mouth, more than I have ever loved anything in 800 years of existence. And if this is what you truly want, if you are certain of this choice, then I will give it to you. I will turn you and pray to whatever gods might listen that you survive the transformation and become the extraordinary creature I know you can be. That was way more romantic than it should have been, considering we're talking about you literally killing me and bringing me back as a vampire. I contain multitudes. You really do. So when are we doing this? Do we need to prepare, get supplies, call someone? Victor shook his head. We need nothing but time and privacy. The turning itself is simple. I drink from you until your heart stops. Then I feed you my blood. The transformation happens over the course of several days as your body dies and resurrects as something new. It is agonizing, and there is nothing I can do to ease the pain. You will suffer, and I will have to watch you suffer, and that will be its own form of torture. Okay, that's less romantic, but I can handle pain. I have a very high pain tolerance. I once walked around on a sprained ankle for 3 days before realizing something was actually wrong. That is not reassuring. It's extremely reassuring. It means I'm tough. I can survive this. I hope you are right. They sat there for a moment, the weight of what they were about to do settling between them. This wasn't just a big decision. This was the biggest decision. Life and death and everything after. Jade felt her heart pounding, adrenaline and excitement and yes, fear, all mixing together into something overwhelming. When? She asked. When should we do it? Victor considered this. Your mother is working tonight and tomorrow. We would have privacy. Time for the worst of the transformation to occur without explanation. If we begin this afternoon, you should be through the most dangerous phase before she returns. So today. We're doing this today. If you are certain. I'm certain. I've been certain since I was 15 years old watching you on a screen. I've been certain since you appeared in my bedroom 2 weeks ago. I've been certain every moment since then. I'm not going to suddenly become uncertain now. Victor pulled her close again, holding her like she was precious and breakable, like he was trying to memorize the feeling of her warmth, her heartbeat, everything human about her before it changed. I wish I could promise you this will not hurt, he said quietly. I wish I could promise the transformation will be easy and you will wake up exactly as you are now, only mortal. But I cannot promise those things. I can only promise that I will be with you every moment, that I will not leave your side, that I will watch over you and protect you and do everything in my power to ensure you survive. That's all I need. You. Everything else we'll figure out together. They spent the morning in strange domesticity, both of them aware that everything was about to change, but trying not to let that awareness ruin their last hours of normalcy. They made breakfast together, French toast, because Jade declared she wanted something special for her last mortal meal. Victor cooked with careful attention, making sure everything was perfect, and Jade ate slowly, savoring every bite. I'm going to miss tasting food as a human, she said. I know you can taste stuff now because of our bond, but it's different, right? Less intense? Somewhat less intense, yes. But I find I enjoy it regardless. And after you turn, we will share the experience in new ways. Everything will be different. Good different or scary different. Both, I suspect. After breakfast, they showered together, the intimacy of the act taking on new significance. Victor washed her hair with tender care, his fingers massaging her scalp, and Jade found herself memorizing every sensation. The feeling of warm water on her skin, the coolness of Victor's touch, the way her heart beat steadily in her chest, something that would soon stop forever. Are you afraid? Victor asked as he rinsed shampoo from her hair. Terrified, but also excited. Is that weird? Not weird. Very you. You have always approached fear with enthusiasm. It's a character flaw. It is a strength. Fear with enthusiasm is called courage. They dressed in comfortable clothes, Jade in soft leggings and one of Victor's t-shirts, Victor in the pajama pants and Henley that had become his default comfortable clothing. Then they went to Jade's bedroom, the place where this had all started 2 weeks ago, and sat on her bed facing each other. How does this work? Jade asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Mechanically, I mean, what happens? Victor took her hands, his expression serious. I will drink from you first, not a small amount like when I fed from you before. I will drink until your heart stops, until you're on the edge of death. Then, before you pass completely, I will feed you my blood. You'll drink from me, and the transformation will begin. And then you'll experience the most intense pain imaginable as your body dies and resurrects. Your human organs will shut down. Your heart will stop permanently. Your lungs will cease to require air. Your entire cellular structure will transform at the molecular level. It typically takes 3 plos and turies for a process to develop, and you can totally need to back the rower, or days. 3 days of agony that I can do nothing to ease. But you'll be here? I will not leave your side for a single moment. I will hold you through the worst of it. I will speak to you even if you cannot respond. I will be your anchor to reality when the pain threatens to consume you completely. Jade took a shaky breath. Okay, I can do this. I can definitely do this. You do not have to do this. We can wait. We can take more time to consider. No. If we wait, I'll just get more nervous. Let's do it now. Rip the band-aid off. Or in this case, rip the mortality off. Victor's expression was pained. Your humor in the face of fear is admirable and deeply concerning in equal measure. It's how I cope. Now kiss me before I lose my nerve. He did, pulling her close, kissing her with a desperate intensity that made her breath catch. Jade kissed him back just as fiercely, pouring everything she felt into it. Love and trust, and the absolute certainty that this was right. That they were right. That whatever came next would be worth it. When they broke apart, Victor positioned them on the bed, Jade lying back against the pillows, Victor beside her. His hand found hers, their fingers intertwining, and she felt the bond between them pulse with emotion so intense it made her dizzy. Last chance, Victor said quietly. Last chance to change your mind, to choose more life, to walk away from this. Not a chance. I'm all in. Now stop stalling and bite me already. You truly are extraordinary. I know. Now make me extraordinarily immortal. Victor leaned over her, his body partially covering hers, one hand cradling her head while the other remained linked with her hand. His eyes locked with hers, and Jade saw 800 years of experience and emotion and love so profound it made her want to cry. I love you, he said. Whatever happens, whatever you become, I love you eternally. I love you too, now and forever, literally forever. Victor's head lowered to her neck, and Jade felt his cool breath against her skin. His lips pressed against her pulse point, gentle at first, almost reverent. Then his tongue traced the line of her artery, and she felt her body respond despite the fear. This was Victor. This was the man she loved. She was safe with him, even in this. It will hurt, he said one last time. I am so sorry it will hurt. I know. It's okay. I trust you. She felt his fangs extend, felt the sharp points press against her skin. Her heart was racing now, pounding so hard she was sure he could feel it. This was it, the moment that would change everything. The moment she'd been moving towards since he first appeared in her bedroom. I love you, Jade whispered. I love you, Victor replied. And then he bit down. The pain was immediate and shocking. Not the brief sting of his previous feelings, but something deeper, more invasive. She felt her blood flowing from her in quantities that made her head spin, felt her heartbeat becoming weaker, faster, desperate. Victor drank steadily, his grip on her hand tightening as her body began to fail. Jade's vision started to blur, the edges of her awareness growing dark. She could feel Victor through their bond, his anguish causing her pain mixing with determination to see this through. He was suffering too, she realized. Hurting her was hurting him, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop. This was the only way. Her heartbeat slowed, each beat taking longer, the spaces between growing wider. She felt cold spreading through her limbs, felt her lungs struggling for air that seemed increasingly insufficient. This was dying. This was what death felt like. Consciousness fading. The world receding. Everything becoming distant and strange. Victor pulled back suddenly, and Jade heard herself make a small sound of protest. She was floating now, untethered, barely aware of her body. She felt, rather than saw, Victor bite his own wrist, felt him press the wound to her lips. Drink, he commanded, his voice seeming to come from very far away. Jade, you must drink, now. She did, instinctively, tasting blood for the first time. It was coppery and strange and wrong, but also somehow right. Her body recognized what it needed. Her fading consciousness rallied, focusing entirely on drinking, on taking in this new substance that would either save her or finish killing her. Victor's blood flowed into her, and Jade felt it immediately. Power. Ancient power beyond anything she'd imagined. It hit her dying system like lightning, like fire, like every nerve ending in her body suddenly screaming in recognition of something fundamental and transformative. The pain that came next made everything before seem gentle. It was as if her entire body was being torn apart and rebuilt simultaneously, her cells burning, dying, resurrecting as something new, her bones feeling like they were cracking and reforming, her muscles seizures and releasing in patterns that made no sense, every system in her body shutting down and restarting in ways that were profoundly, terrifyingly wrong. She tried to scream, but couldn't find a voice, tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond. She was trapped in this failing flesh, feeling everything, unable to escape the agony of transformation. Victor's voice came through the pain, steady and constant. I'm here. I have you. You are strong. You'll survive this. I promise you will survive this. His hand was still holding hers. That connection, that physical link, became everything, her anchor to reality, proof that she wasn't alone in this nightmare, that someone was with her, that she was loved even as she died. The pain increased impossibly. Jade's back arched involuntarily, her body convulsing, and she felt Victor holding her down gently but firmly, preventing her from hurting herself. His cool presence pressed against her burning skin, offering what little comfort he could. Your heart is stopping, Victor said quietly. This is the hardest part, when your human heart takes its last beat. Hold on, little flame. Hold on just a little longer. Jade felt it, her heart, that steady companion that had beaten every moment of her 20 years, slowing, faltering, each beat weaker than the last. And then, with a sensation like something fundamental breaking inside her, it stopped. Complete stillness in her chest. No heartbeat, no breath, nothing. She should have panicked, should have fought against the wrongness of it, but instead, Jade felt something else happening. Her body, denied its human systems, reaching for new ones. Vampire physiology taking over, her still heart becoming irrelevant as her blood found new ways to circulate, her lungs ceasing to need air as her cells adapted to exist without oxygen. She was dying. She was dead. She was being reborn. And through it all, Victor held her, his presence constant, his voice never stopping, telling her she was strong, telling her she was brave, telling her he loved her and would love her forever, and she just needed to hold on a little longer. The pain peaked, became absolutely unbearable, and then something shifted. Jade felt her blood changing, not just accepting Victor's vampire blood, but transforming it. Her unique blood, the blood that had given Victor daylight walking and enhanced abilities, becoming something new, something unprecedented. Power flooded through her, not the gradual strengthening Victor had described. This was immediate and overwhelming. She felt her senses expanding exponentially, could hear Victor's breathing, her mother's car 3 streets away, a dog barking half a mile distant, could smell everything, the detergent in her sheets, the lingering scent of breakfast, the subtle differences in air composition between her room and the hallway. Could feel the connection to Victor intensifying until it wasn't just an awareness of his emotions, but a complete merging of consciousness. She was in his mind, and he was in hers, and the boundaries between them had dissolved entirely. And there was something else, something beyond normal vampire abilities. She could feel energy in the air around her, life force, the electrical impulses of living things. Could sense Victor's ancient power like a beacon beside her, could feel the vastness of her own emerging abilities. This wasn't just transformation, this was evolution. She was becoming exactly what Victor had predicted, something more than vampire, something unprecedented and powerful and potentially dangerous. The pain began to recede finally, though it didn't disappear entirely. It settled into a constant background agony as her body continued its transformation. She still couldn't move, couldn't speak, could barely think through the overwhelming sensory input, but she was aware now, conscious, surviving. That's it, Victor said, relief evident in his voice. You are through the worst of the initial transformation. The pain will continue for days, but you are stable. You are going to survive this, Jade. I'm certain of it. She wanted to respond, to tell him she could hear him, that she was still here, but her body wouldn't cooperate. She was trapped in this transitional state, human enough to feel pain, but vampire enough to survive it. I'm gonna hold you now, Victor continued, gathering her into his arms with infinite care. I'm gonna hold you for however long this takes. You will not be alone for a single moment. I promise you that. Jade felt herself being cradled against his chest, felt his cool body pressed against hers. The position should have been uncomfortable given her current state of agony, but somehow his presence helped, grounded her, reminded her that there was a purpose to the suffering, or a reason to endure. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time became meaningless in the pain. Jade drifted in and out of awareness, sometimes conscious of Victor holding her, sometimes lost entirely in the sensation of her body rebuilding itself at the cellular level. She dreamed, or hallucinated, or experienced some strange transitional state between life and death. She saw her past, her childhood, her parents' divorce, the first time she'd watched Underworld and fallen in love with a fictional vampire who would somehow become real. She saw possible futures, centuries stretching ahead, Victor beside her, both of them unchanging while the world transformed around them. And she saw power, her power, not fully formed yet but growing, abilities beyond normal vampire gifts. She could see the future in flashes, could sense the thoughts of living things, could manipulate energy in ways she didn't yet understand. She was becoming something extraordinary, something potentially terrifying. Victor talked to her throughout everything, sometimes speaking of the present, describing what he could see happening to her body, the changes occurring, the progress of her transformation. Sometimes speaking of the past, telling her stories of his long life, his mistakes and triumphs, and the centuries of loneliness before she found him. Sometimes speaking of the future, imagining the life they would have together, the places they would go, the experiences they would share. "I am afraid," he admitted at one point, his voice rough with emotion. "I'm afraid of what you are becoming. Not because I fear you will be dangerous, but because I fear you will be too powerful, too extraordinary, that you will eclipse me entirely and realize you no longer need me." Jade wanted to protest, to tell him that was ridiculous, but she couldn't speak. Could only lie in his arms and listen and hope he could feel through that bond how wrong he was. "But then I remember," Victor continued, "that you chose this, that you knew the risks and accepted them anyway because you wanted to be with me, and I realized that your power, whatever form it takes, does not diminish what we have. If anything, it enhances it. We will be partners, true equals. And that is something I have never had in 800 years, something I never imagined wanting, but now that it is within reach, I want it desperately." The transformation continued. Jade felt her senses growing sharper still. She could hear individual heartbeats in houses around them, could track the movement of small animals in the trees outside, could sense the subtle shifts in electromagnetic fields that she'd never known existed. Her awareness expanded until she felt like she could perceive the entire neighborhood, then the entire town, then further still. It was overwhelming, too much information flooding her consciousness. She didn't know how to filter it, how to focus on one thing instead of everything. It was like being bombarded by the entire world at once. Victor seemed to sense her distress. "Your mind is expanding too rapidly. You need to learn control. Focus on my voice, only my voice. Let everything else fade into background noise." Jade tried, struggling to narrow her awareness, to find Victor's presence among the chaos of sensation. It was difficult, like trying to hold water in her hands, but gradually she managed it, his voice speaking the center. Everything else receded. "Good," Victor said. "Very good. You are already learning control. That is remarkable progress." More time passed. The pain remained constant, but Jade was adapting to it, her mind finding ways to compartmentalize the agony while remaining conscious. She began to feel her body again, not just as a source of pain, but as something she could potentially control. Her fingers twitched. Her eyelids fluttered. "Do not try to move yet," Victor cautioned. "Your body is not ready. The transformation is not complete. Be patient a little longer." But Jade could feel it. She was close. The most intense phase of the change was ending. Her new vampire biology was stabilizing. She was going to make it. She was going to survive this. And she was going to be extraordinary. On the third day, Jade opened her eyes. The world that greeted her was impossibly vivid. Colors she'd never seen before, details so sharp they hurt. She could see individual dust particles floating in the air, could count the threads in her bedsheets, could perceive variations in Victor's pale skin that indicated subtle differences in temperature and blood flow. "Jade?" Victor's voice was hushed with wonder and relief. "Can you hear me?" She tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. She managed a small nod instead. Victor reached for a glass of water on her nightstand, when he put that there, and helped her drink. The water felt strange going down her throat. Not bad, just different. Her body didn't need it the way it used to, but the sensation was pleasant nonetheless. "How do you feel?" Victor asked, his hand cradling her face with infinite gentleness. "Different," Jade managed, her voice rough from disuse. "Everything is different." "I know. The adjustment takes time, but you survived, Little Flame. You made it through the transformation. You are vampire now, and I believe you are exactly what I suspected you would be. Something unprecedented." Jade sat up slowly, testing her new body. Everything felt strange, but also powerful. She could feel strength in her muscles that hadn't been there before, could sense Victor's presence through that bond with crystal clarity, could perceive energy flowing through both of them, connecting them in ways that went beyond normal vampire bonds. "I can feel everything," she said. "Not just you. Everything. The house, the neighborhood, people's thoughts. It's too much. How do you handle this?" "You will learn to filter it, to focus on what matters and let the rest become background noise. It takes practice, but you're already showing remarkable control." Jade looked at her hands. They looked the same, but she could feel the power in them, could sense that she could crush stone if she wanted to, could move faster than human eyes could track, could do things she was only beginning to understand. "What am I?" she asked quietly. Victor smiled, sad and proud and awed all at once. "You're mine. You're vampire, but you're also something more, something the world has never seen before." "Am I dangerous?" "Potentially, but so am I. So is any creature with power. The question is not whether you are dangerous. The question is whether you will master your abilities or let them master you." Jade looked at him, this ancient being who had given her eternity, who had risked everything to transform her, who was looking at her now with love and fear and hope tangled together. "I want to try something," she said. "What?" "Come here." Victor moved closer, then Jade reached out, placing her hand over his chest where his heart rested still and quiet. She focused on the energy she could feel flowing through him, ancient and powerful and bound to her through their blood. And then, experimentally, she pushed. Not physically, energetically, sharing her power with him, amplifying what he already was. Victor gasped, his eyes going wide. "What are you doing?" "I don't know. But do you feel it? Do you feel stronger?" "Yes, significantly stronger." "Jade, you are enhancing my ability somehow. I have never heard of a vampire capable of this." "Neither have I, but it feels right. Like this is what I'm supposed to be able to do. Enhance others, protect them, make them stronger." She released her energy push and Victor sagged slightly, his power returning to normal levels. He looked at her with something approaching awe. "You're going to change everything," he said quietly. "The vampire world, the human world, everything. The power you possess, the abilities you're manifesting, they will attract attention. Dangerous attention. We will have to be extremely careful. Then it's going to have an 800-year-old vampire warlord to protect me. You may not need protection. You may be the one doing the protecting now." Jade felt her new body, her new senses, her new power settling into place. She was vampire, but not just vampire. She was something more, something unique, something that would require her to be stronger and smarter and more careful than she'd ever been as a human. But she wasn't facing it alone. Victor was here, would always be here. They were bound now in ways that went beyond normal vampire bonds, partners, equals, forever. She stood up, testing her balance, and was pleased to find it perfect. Her body responded exactly as she wanted it to, no awkwardness, no adjustment period. She felt powerful and confident and absolutely certain that she'd made the right choice. Victor stood as well, watching her with careful attention, ready to catch her if she stumbled. But she didn't stumble. She moved to the window and looked out at the neighborhood bathed in afternoon sunlight. The same sunlight that would have killed any normal vampire, but which she could feel washing over her with no discomfort whatsoever. "I can feel the sun," she said with wonder. "It doesn't hurt. It feels good. Warm. Your blood. It retains its unique properties, even in vampire form. You are truly immune to sunlight, as I hoped you would be." Jade turned back to him, this man who had given her everything, who had loved her enough to risk creating something unprecedented. He stood in her bedroom, in the sunlight, beautiful and ancient and hers. "Thank you," she said simply. "For what?" "For being brave enough to do this. For loving me enough to give me forever. For risking everything on the chance that we could have this." Victor crossed to her, pulling her into his arms, and Jade felt their bond sing with completion. They were both vampire now, both powerful, both immortal, equals in a way they never could have been before. "I would risk anything for you," Victor said against her hair. "Everything I am, everything I have. All 800 years of existence were leading me to you, to this moment, to us." That's really romantic for someone who just put me through 3 days of agony. The agony was unavoidable. The romance is my apology for it. Jade pulled back to look at him, to really see him with her new vampire vision. He was even more beautiful like this. She could see the subtle play of light on his skin, could perceive the ancient power that radiated from him, could feel every emotion he experienced through their bond. "I love you," she said, "forever now. Literally forever. I love you as well, for the rest of eternity, however long that may be." They stood together in sunlight, two vampires who shouldn't exist, bound by blood and love, and a transformation that had created something unprecedented. The world outside continued on, unaware that everything had just changed, that a new kind of vampire had been born. That power had shifted in ways no one could have anticipated. But inside this room, in this moment, none of that mattered. What mattered was Victor holding Jade, was the certainty of forever, was the knowledge that they had chosen each other completely and would face whatever came next together. Jade felt her new power settling, felt her abilities beginning to make sense. She could enhance others, she discovered. Could share her strength, amplify what they already were, could probably do things she hadn't even begun to explore yet. It was terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. But she wasn't afraid, because she had Victor, because they were partners now, because whatever challenges her new existence brought, she wouldn't face them alone. "So," she said, pulling back slightly to grin at him, "what do vampires do on the first day of immortality, besides dramatically stare at each other in sunlight?" Victor smiled, that rare, genuine smile that transformed his face. "Whatever we wish. We have eternity to fill, after all." "Then I vote we start with food. I'm starving. Can I still eat regular food?" "We'll have to experiment. Your blood has already broken so many rules. I see no reason to assume the traditional vampire limitations apply to you." "Excellent. Then I'm making pancakes. Really elaborate pancakes with entirely too much syrup, because I'm immortal now, and I can eat as many carbs as I want without consequences." That is a remarkable priority for someone who just became an unprecedented supernatural being. "I'm a woman of simple pleasures. Immortality doesn't change that." They headed downstairs together, Victor's hand in hers, both of them lighting this new dynamic. She was taller now, Jade realized. Not physically taller, but she carried herself differently, moved with the confidence of someone who knew their body's capabilities. She was powerful, and she could feel it in every step. In the kitchen, she pulled out ingredients while Victor watched with amusement. "You truly wish to cook? Now? After everything that has happened?" "I wish to be normal for a little while longer. To pretend that I'm just Jade, making breakfast for her boyfriend instead of a super vampire figuring out how to control unprecedented abilities. Is that okay?" Victor's expression softened. "That is more than okay. That is perfect." So they made pancakes together, their bodies moving in sync, their bond humming with contentment. Victor tried to help, but kept getting distracted by Jade's enhanced grace, by the way she moved with unconscious confidence. She caught him staring and stuck her tongue out at him. "Stop looking at me like I'm a science experiment. You are a miracle. I am allowed to stare at miracles. Your sap, an 800-year-old sap. I am your 800-year-old sap for eternity." They ate pancakes together, Jade relieved to discover she could still taste food, still enjoy it. Her new vampire biology didn't seem to restrict anything. If anything, flavors were more intense, more vibrant. The syrup was almost overwhelmingly sweet, the butter rich beyond anything she'd experienced as a human. "This is amazing," she said to a mouthful of pancake. "Everything tastes so much better." One of the few advantages to enhanced senses. Food becomes extraordinary. "I'm going to get fat." Immortal vampire Jade gets fat because she can't stop eating pancakes. "You will not get fat. Vampire metabolism prevents such things. You can eat whatever you wish without consequence. Best superpower ever. Forget the super strength and sensory enhancement. The ability to eat carbs without getting weight is the real gift here." Victor laughed, and the sound filled the kitchen with warmth. They finished breakfast and cleaned up together, both of them aware that this peaceful moment was temporary, that soon they would have to face the reality of what Jade had become. That decisions would need to be made about their future. But for now, for this morning, they could pretend. Could be just two people in love, sharing pancakes and laughter and the comfortable domesticity of a Sunday morning. "What happens now?" Jade asked as they settled on the couch, her body curled against his in a way that felt both familiar and new. "What do we do next?" Victor was quiet for a moment, his hand stroking her hair. "We learn. We explore your abilities carefully. We determine the extent of your power and how to control it. We make plans for a future that has suddenly become far more complicated and infinitely more possible." "And my mom?" "We will tell her something. Not everything, but enough truth that she's not blindsided. Your mother deserves honesty, even if that honesty is carefully edited. She's going to freak out. Probably. But she loves you. She will adapt. Humans are remarkably resilient when it comes to accepting impossible things for the sake of their children." Jade nodded, feeling both relieved and anxious about that conversation. Her mom had been so accepting of Victor, so willing to help despite clearly having questions she wasn't asking. How would she react to learning her daughter was now a vampire? A super vampire with abilities beyond normal supernatural beings? They would find out soon enough, but not today. Today was for them, for adjusting to their new reality, for being together in this new way. "I'm scared," Jade admitted quietly. "I know. So am I." Really? You're scared? Even with all your experience and power? Victor pulled her closer. Especially with all my experience and power. I know what the supernatural world is capable of. I know how dangerous it can be. And now I have you to protect. You, who are potentially more powerful than any being I have ever encountered. You, who are precious beyond measure. Yes, I am terrified. But we'll face it together. We will face it together. Always. They sat in the morning sunlight, two vampires who shouldn't exist, holding each other and contemplating an impossible future. Outside, the world continued its normal Sunday rhythms. Inside, everything had changed. Jade felt her new power humming beneath her skin, felt the bond with Victor stronger than ever, felt the potential of eternity stretching ahead. It was overwhelming and exciting and terrifying. But mostly, it was right. She had chosen this, had chosen him, had chosen forever. And whatever came next, whatever challenges or dangers or impossible situations they would face them together. Victor and Jade, the ancient vampire and his unprecedented creation, the warlord and his queen, two impossible beings in love, making their own rules, creating their own destiny. I don't regret it, Jade said quietly. Everything we just went through, the pain, the fear, the transformation, I don't regret any of it. I'm glad, though I will carry the memory of causing you pain for the rest of eternity. Then I'll spend the rest of eternity reminding you it was worth it. Victor tilted her face up, his ice blue eyes meeting her new, enhanced gaze. I love you, Jade Alexandra Anderson, my little flame, my eternal companion, my everything. I love you too, Victor, my ancient warlord, my protector, my partner, my forever. They kissed, and Jade felt their power surge between them, felt their bond solidifying into something unbreakable. This was it. This was forever. And forever had just begun. Whatever came next, they would face it. Together. Always together. The vampire and his queen, the ancient and the unprecedented, Victor and Jade. Forever. End of episode 11, The Immortal Question.